All right, well, welcome to Fifth Street Soccer here on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network and, of course, SB Nation Radio. I'm Nick Geber. It's fabulous to be with you, as I am each and every Friday from 1 p.m. Pacific time right here on very same networks. By the way, you can also catch the live stream on YouTube, on Twitch. We also have iHeartRadio. We have TuneIn.com. And a big hello to our men and women in uniform around the world listening on American Forces Network. It is, as I said, terrific to be with you. We have another great weekend of Premier League action coming up. And I would be remiss at this point if I did not bring in my co-host to the show, my good friend, former Fox Soccer, voice of the Premier League, Mr. Nick Webster. Nick, we had an incredible week of picks for last week. We're going to do it again this week?
Mr. Geber, I mean, I should have champagne. I should have caviar here because we picked two of the biggest dogs of the weekend, and they both came through for us. So I do see you wearing your Liverpool circa 1990s top, though. A little pleased, are you, Mr. Geber?
Well, I am very pleased there, Mr. Webster, because it was an absolutely astounding Champions League result. Liverpool knocking Manchester City out of the Champions League. And Nick, last week I said to you the Champions League was becoming boring. It was Real Madrid, it was Barcelona, it was boring. My goodness, what a round of 16 we had. It was absolutely astounding what happened. Real Madrid got through by the skin of their teeth. Barcelona got knocked out. Bayern Munich didn't look all that great. I mean, it's really ended up being extremely exciting, and of course, we are set for an epic set of semifinals. We'll be getting to that as we get just a little bit closer. But in the meantime, we do have an incredibly interesting slate of Premier League matches. Some of the matches we're going to talk about, you might think this week, they're just sort of a given, but I got a couple of surprise picks in there, and Nick, I know you're going to have some too.
Absolutely, Mr. Geber. I think the Premier League is going to be as unpredictable as the Champions League. And if you listen to us, maybe there'll be a few more dollars in your wallet by the end of this weekend.
Absolutely. And as we get started for this show today, I'd remind everyone to go to our website at fifthstreetsports.com/bet-now, or else you can go to betanysport.com, put in the affiliate code Fifth Street. You'll get a 50% bonus on your deposits up to $1,000 deposit. So you could put in $1,000, bet with $1,500, have a lot of fun. All right, we're going to have to step aside here, take a break. I'll be right back in just a few minutes with more Fifth Street Soccer. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back to the show. Fifth Street Soccer here on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network, SB Nation Radio. All right, welcome back to the show. Fifth Street Soccer here on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network, SB Nation Radio. Once again, a big hello to our men and women in uniform listening on American Forces Network. It is an absolute pleasure and a privilege to be speaking to you guys as we do each and every Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, right here on this very network. We do have a slate of Premier League matches coming up this weekend as we come in to the final stretch of the English Premier League. I would say the Barclays Premier League, but it's not that anymore. It's completely changed, but it's still the same great league with the exciting games. Of course, the top of the table is basically set at this point. Manchester City have to really have a massive implosion that they're just not going to have. It would result in them losing basically all the 6 games they have left. But it's always the race for Europe. It's the relegation battles that are so exciting. And we have a couple of interesting relegation battle matches this week. We're going to get to them. I'd like to welcome back to the show my co-host Nick Webster, who's in his coat closet somewhere. Nick, Southampton-Chelsea's going to kick off the weekend. And, at first glance, this might seem to be a done deal.
The coat closet. I'll give you the coat closet, especially when I've got Manchester City on one side, Liverpool on the other. I mean, you should be absolutely thrilled that I'm representing the Barclays Premier League here. But yes, let's talk about Chelsea and Southampton. Chelsea going through an absolute horror run with this whole Antonio Conte. He's gone at the end of the year. I would actually look at the over in this game. Southampton are good for a couple of goals at St. Mary's. Chelsea have got to start getting to grips with football right now. They've not been doing great. I really like the over, and I think it's 2.5, but you can get plus odds on the over right now. So this is the one to go for. I'm not sure. I'm not going to tell you who's going to win. Chelsea should win in the form book, but the way they're playing, I think there's goals in this game.
It's funny, Nick. You talk about Chelsea should win in the form book. But, really, if you look at it, Chelsea have the last 5, 2 losses, a win, a loss, and a draw. So 3 losses, a win, and a draw. Southampton have 2 losses, 2 draws, and 3 losses, including that 3-2 squeaker of a loss to Arsenal, their last match out. Southampton, if anything, their form's actually picking up. Forget what the results say. Look at the form that's actually on the pitch. I'll tell you why I like this match. Likely, Nick, this should be a 2-1 victory for Chelsea. And right now, if you want to, right now, if you want to do that, it's minus 112 for Chelsea. It's not particularly great odds for that because Chelsea aren't that strong of a team, I don't think, at this point. I will say this, Nick. If you want to take a flyer and bet Southampton, it's plus 351. That's going out on a limb a bit. The draw is what excites me on this one, Webster. It's plus 269 on the draw for this one. And I think that's some real value on this match because I'm just not convinced this isn't going to be a draw, Nick. I think this one is going to be a draw. My pick for this is 1-1.
1-1. Well, I'm going to have to disagree with you because I actually fancy the over in the goals. I mean, it's plus 105 for the over. I just think that both these teams must win the game. I mean, for Southampton, they're on the verge of getting relegated, which is a crying shame. And for Chelsea, they are on the verge of getting knocked out of any kind of Champions League qualification.
They're not getting there, Nick, but they're not getting there anyway. I mean, who are they? They are so far behind Tottenham. They are so far behind Liverpool. They're not catching Man United or City. Guess what? They're not going to the Champions League. It's going to be Europa League for Chelsea. Boring Chelsea.
Ordinarily, I would agree with you. But what we've seen over the past weekend in the Premier League and in the Champions League is nothing is written in stone. Chelsea are currently 9 points behind Liverpool. However, they have a game in hand. And guess who Liverpool have to go to towards the end of the season?
Yeah, they have to go to Stamford Bridge.
They have to go to Stamford Bridge, which then all of a sudden becomes a 6-pointer. Chelsea are looking at this game with big eyes, knowing that if they can keep the pressure and keep winning games, that they may force a mistake out of Liverpool, who will have their eyes on the Champions League semi-final. Trust me on this one. Bet the over.
Well, I'll tell you, Nick, I disagree with you because they are 10 points behind Liverpool. They got 6 games left to go. And if you want to say they have to win, they have to get points, their last 2 games have been dire. 1-1 against West Ham and the 3-1 drubbing they took at home against Spurs. Come on, Nick. This team is awful right now. They're loaded with talent, but they're rudderless, they're leaderless. This Conte thing has really created an enormous problem there for them.
No, I agree. All right, it's a toss-up.
Oh, it's a toss-up. All right. We mean that in the best of ways, right? All right, let's go. So next match is at Turf Moor. It's Burnley versus Leicester. And if you think about this one, the form of both these teams actually not too bad. Burnley, well, 1 draw and 4 wins in their last 5. Leicester, 2 draws, 2 wins and a loss. That loss was very strange loss, really, against Newcastle United. It's a very against the run of play, shall we say. But Burnley also, they could wrap up 7th place with a win here, Nick. And
yeah,
maybe
quite
a little.
incredible, really. I mean, Turf Moor's become something of a fortress. The one good thing you can say about Burnley is they do try and keep clean sheets. They do try and keep games very tight. Leicester, as you said, very disappointing against Newcastle United, especially at home at the Walker Stadium. You'd expect them to really push on there. The over and under is only 2 goals. So, I mean, I think the bookies think it's going to be a very tight game. I actually think it will be a tight game as well. But I am going to go with Leicester because they have the more attacking players. And I just feel that it's up to them to really push on and maybe take that 7th place away from Burnley.
Well, I'm going to be contrarian with you, Nick. And I know Burnley haven't scored all that many goals, but when I look at this match and I look at, first of all, Burnley right now plus 165, Leicester plus 202. So you're actually going to make the better bet, I think. But in fact, I'm going to go Burnley 2-1. I think the fact that they could lock up 7th place here, it's at home, it's at Turf Moor. I like them to win this match. I think we're going to have 3 goals total. 2-1 Burnley. That's my pick for this one.
Well, Mr. Geber going for the over.
I'm very going for the over.
I think I might have to actually go against you. So this is going to be like a real WWE SmackDown between me and you this weekend. Because I think last weekend we couldn't stop fondling each other and agreeing with each other and saying how great everything was. But
let's be honest. Let's be honest, Nick. Last weekend was a bipartisan love fest. This weekend, not so much.
I mean, if you'd taken Everton and Manchester United with a nice little parlay last weekend, you would be in the Bahamas right now sipping a very nice cocktail.
Absolutely. And of course, the Everton. I mean, people thought I was crazy. Well, both of us, when we said Man United were right for that win, and people just didn't see it. Didn't think it. It's been an awful week for City. They're playing this weekend as well. We're going to talk about that. It's been an absolute week to forget. But we're going to get to that one. Let's move on to the next one. This is Brighton Hove Albion against Crystal Palace. Nick, this is an interesting match, I think, because Palace are in real trouble. They're 17th. They're heavily in the drop zone. Brighton Hove Albion, they've actually had a very surprising season. Their run of form of late, not all that bad. It's 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. Palace, well, they've been a little inconsistent. 3 losses, a win, and a draw. I think if you look at this one and you look at what Brighton have ahead of them with Tottenham, Burnley, United, City, Liverpool, they got to get points now, Nick. They got to get points now. But I like to think for this one, Crystal Palace really desperately going to work to get out of that 17th spot. And for me personally, again, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'll give you my pick. I'm going to go the favorite, actually, at minus 108. I think Palace is going to do this one 2-1.
Yeah, Palace have the spread. They've been given the half the goal advantage. But I kind of Brighton at home, and I waxed on lyrically about how wonderful Brighton have been at home last week, and they did get the 1-1 draw against Huddersfield. Some bad goalkeeping errors actually denied them the 3 points. Crystal Palace, I mean, I love Palace.
All right, Nick, hold that thought. Hold right there. It's that time. We've got to go to break. We'll come back. We're going to get your picks. Brighton Hove Albion against Crystal Palace. This is Fifth Street Soccer. We do have to go to break. We will be right back after this. Oh, welcome back to Fifth Street Soccer here on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network, SB Nation Radio, American Forces, TuneIn, iHeart. Of course, you can watch the stream live on youtube.com and Twitch. Visit us on Facebook at facebook.com/Fifth Street Sports Talk. Just wet your finger, stick it in the air, and you get to hear us as well. That's how it works here at Fifth Street Sports. We are everywhere. Welcome back to the show, of course, my co-host, Nick Webster. Nick, before we had to rush off so rudely and pay some bills, you were about to give us your pick for the Brighton Palace match.
Yes, I really like actually Brighton. I fancy the draw on this one, but being that Brighton are getting a half a goal, I would take Brighton and Hove Albion to win this game.
Really? For the win?
Well, if you think about it, it's going to be a 1-1 draw in my book. But because Brighton get the half a goal, it's Brighton 1.5, Crystal Palace 1.
Very nice. As I said, I got Palace 2-1. You know, the draw's good value here at 248 as well, Nick.
I think it's tremendous.
So maybe do a little bit of both, little hedging, get yourself the hedging strategy.
Yeah, well, I like hedging. That's you must have grown up on Wall Street, young man.
Absolutely not, Nick. But it is nice to say that when I'm out for drinks, chatting up the skirt. Hey, I work on Wall Street. But it doesn't work that way. All right, let's go to the next match, Nick. This one is Huddersfield Town against Watford. Two teams that if a few years ago someone had told you would be in the Premier League, you probably would have spit your beer out. But that's the way it is with this wonderful game of ours. And, of course, that is why promotion and relegation is so very important, because it opens up the top leagues to teams, that gives them an opportunity to compete at the biggest, top, highest level, make that money, stay there, become a name brand themselves globally. Of course, all these teams have been around for 100-plus years in the UK, so everybody knows them. But when you come over here to the States, not everybody knows who all these teams are. So for some people, it's a complete fresh look at new teams. But let's get to this one, Nick Webster. This is Huddersfield against Watford. What's interesting about this one for me, Nick, is that Watford have no away wins since November. But generally, they score at least one goal against lower half teams. That's something to look for. And also, that's Watford. If you look at Huddersfield, Nick, they've scored 8 goals in 12 games the entire year. They have had 4 goals since February. I probably would not be betting the over on this one, Nick Webster.
I think you are quite remarkable in your vision on this one, Nick. If you look at Huddersfield and Watford, not the sexiest matchup in the Premier League this weekend. Okay, so you know what? Keep the ladies away from this one. But
you're not a big fan of the Hornets, Nick?
Big fan of the Hornets. But I think in this particular game, it is going to be low scoring. It's truly massive for Huddersfield. Watford, in my opinion, might already have the flip-flops out, the deck chair set, and if they're playing against the Germans, so that being the case, they'll have their towels already by the pool at 6 a.m. in the morning. I am actually going to stay well clear of this one, other than betting the under.
Well, Nick, if I look at the numbers on this, they're not particularly juicy either way, because Watford's a plus 191, Huddersfield's a plus 167. The money line out there is not sure who's going to win this match. They're really essentially as close to even as you can get. Nick, for me, the value here is in the result I think we're going to get. It's plus 222 for the draw. For me, for my money, and I will put money on this one, this is a 1-1 draw any day of the week, particularly Saturday.
And if you're feeling particularly horny, as in the Hornets, how about take the draw and take the under?
Take the draw and was it 2.5? Is the spread on it, right?
Take the draw, take the under.
Very nice, Nick. Let's. We should definitely think about that one. Take the draw, take the under, take the money to the bank, and go for a trip down under. We're a little waxing lyrical here, Nick. We could be rappers.
We could be Nick and Nick. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to come up with a rap for next week.
I would love that. That's fun. Shall I do the human beatbox for you? No. All right. Well, Nick, it will be a shame, I suppose, at some point when we will lose another Welsh team. Will Swansea be that team that we will lose? They are struggling horribly this season. Let's talk about this next matchup. Two teams that are not exactly lighting it up in the Premier League, Swansea and Everton, although Everton not in any danger of relegation, but they really have been very disappointing, Everton, particularly on the road, and this is a road match for them. They have only 2 wins on the road all year. Nick, how do you see this match going down?
Well, I mean, I agree with you that Everton have been very disappointing. So that means you can take that smug smile off your face. Okay.
Can't help it. Can't help it.
Big Sam is probably riding out his last 6 games at Everton. I actually fancy Swansea in this one. I think they've got a very progressive manager, and they've not been that bad at home, and they desperately need to find 3 points from somewhere. If you're going to find it anywhere, it's probably in Everton like that.
Yeah, you know, Nick, I hear what you're saying, and I think there's definitely validity to it. But again, I like to look at the intangibles as well as the statistics. On this one, I want to look at the statistics. Everton do score on the road, but they have the 3rd worst defense in the entire Premier League, which for me is shocking, by the way, given the fact that they're sitting in 9th spot, firmly entrenched in mid-table, which means that they're getting it done at home, but on the road they're just woeful, yet they are scoring. So I'm looking at this match, Nick, and I'm thinking, can't see Everton win this one. Yes, Swansea might well win, and that would be good money for you at plus 210. So maybe you want to put a little bet there, as you said, Nick. But again, I am the draw man this week, Nick. I like the draw on this at plus 224. There's not going to be a goal fest here. I think this is another 1-1. For me, I'll put the money on the draw. I think it's going to be 2 goals in total, 1-1 plus 224. For me, that's the bet on this match.
Well, when you look at the predictions from all the pundits from around the world, and especially from the Premier League, 1-1 is a very popular scoreline. I just can't help but think that Swansea are going to pull something special out of the bag. Everton, much like Watford, they're very safe. They've got nothing to worry about. Swansea for the win. The bookies have it as a pick 'em. I'd pick Swansea.
You pick Swansea. It has been disappointing for Swansea. I mean, the last 2 or 3 seasons, they went from mid-table, really challenging to get into the sort of the top snippet of the top half of the table, and they've just really imploded, Nick. What's gone on there?
Well, I think there's a problem with ownership. They've gone through probably 15 managers in the last 2 weeks, including Bob Bradley.
Yeah.
Or as he was called, Brad Bobley. Megnuts. Did you ever see those very cruel YouTube parodies of Brad Bobley?
I did not actually, Nick, but now that you mentioned, I will look them up. By the way, you're listening to Fifth Street Sports Soccer here on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network, and we thank you for joining us, and be sure to join us every Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. All right, Nick, so for this one, you're going for a Swansea win. You think they're going to get those 3 points. They desperately need it. That'll take them to 35. That'll take them a lot closer to safety than not. And they are, honestly, if it wasn't for just the woefulness of Southampton, Stoke, and West Brom, they may be sucked into that vortex. But I don't think those 3 teams can help themselves.
No, they're just a walking disaster, and Swansea are very close to actually joining them in the stakes. I think Hugh Jenkins, the chairman at Swansea, has made some pretty rash decisions, but I really like Carvalho, the Portuguese manager. I think if they stick with him, they're going to be fine.
All right, Nick, we just got a couple minutes, so let's wrap this next one up because there's really not a lot to talk about here. This is Liverpool-Bournemouth at Anfield. there's nothing good here unless you really want to take a flyer on Bournemouth at plus 1,188. Liverpool are minus 378. The draw is plus 568. The spread's 3.5 goals. Nick, this is at least a 3-0 victory for Liverpool in my mind. I don't see
Nick,
this as
Nick. I think we're missing some real value here, because you cannot possibly tell me that there's not going to be a little bit of a come down for Liverpool. I mean, think about this. This is the first Champions League semi-final since 2007. They've put so much mental and physical energy into these two games against Manchester City. We saw the effects that the Everton, the first leg had at the game against Everton at Goodison Park, which was an absolute snooze fest.
Yeah.
I actually see Liverpool stubbing their toe in this one. Yes, they're going to win the game, but it's not going to be this 5-0 thrashing with Mohamed Salah scoring all 5. I would not be surprised to see Bournemouth cover the spread.
Nick, this is at Anfield. Bournemouth don't score any more than 1 goal a match away. I don't see this happening.
Right now are the comeback kings of the Premiership. They have 18 points from losing positions. 18 points from losing positions. That stat alone is quite outstanding and leads me to believe that there is a lot of character in this team. Yes, should Liverpool come out all guns blazing and blow them away, I will give you a 5-0 thrashing at Anfield. However, if it is tight at half-time, do not be surprised if Bournemouth get a positive result.
All right, well, I suppose they're losing 4-1 at home against Tottenham. That's the comeback king, but that's all right, Nick. We do have to go. How long do we have? All right, we got to go to break. We're going to wrap that one up. Liverpool, Bournemouth, Nick and I, little bit of a disagreement. When we come back, we'll get right down to it. Some big matches coming up. Tottenham, Man City's the big one. This is Fifth Street Soccer on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network, SB Nation Radio. Nick Geber, Nick Webster with you. We'll be right back on the other side. All right, we are back here on Fifth Street Soccer on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network, SB Nation Radio, and Nick Geber and Nick Webster with you as we break down this upcoming weekend's Premier League fixture list. We'll show you where to put your money for the best value. We're going to give you some picks you wouldn't believe and some that you can't believe. That's how it goes here. Thanks for joining us on the other side of the break, Nick. We have a huge match, actually, of two really, really in-form teams in the Premier League in terms of Tottenham, Manchester City. What do you think?
Yes, huge, as I was indicating with my hands. Currently Tottenham Hotspur, one of the in-form teams of the Premiership, playing at Wembley, where they've been excellent all season long. And then you have Manchester City, one of the teams that currently is, can we just say, Pep Guardiola, let's sack him. I mean, really, he's lost 3 games on the bounce, and I'm predicting 4 games on the bounce.
Really?
City right now are lacking so much belief, and they're going to go to Tottenham. Tottenham know that they've got to keep firing on all cylinders if they want to cement that Champions League spot. They're thinking about the FA Cup semi-final in a couple of weekends' time. They have Harry Kane, who has now stolen a goal from Eriksen because he's so desperate to win the Golden Boot from
How ridiculous was that, by the way? How ridiculous was that?
It did graze his eyebrow, I believe.
Yeah. Oh,
but no,
silly.
I mean, the bookies have this one, City,
Very close, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, but City are still the favourites, which I find really hard to understand because the Pep Guardiola experiment, while magnificent and glorious and think of every adjective for the word great, however, they are slumping and they are limping over the line, and Tottenham Hotspur will beat Manchester City this weekend. Harry Kane will score a couple of goals. I see a high-scoring game, but Tottenham are going to win.
Well, it certainly has been a rough week for City, Nick. It really has. And Spurs, you'd be really hard-pressed to bet against them because they've lost only 1 match at home the entire season. Wembley is their fortress. And both teams score around 2 goals per game, either home or away. So, the stats...
So even though the over is 3, you know what? Take the over on this one.
Yeah, I'm with you, Nick. I'm with you. Take the over. This, again, for me, Nick, this is not a Spurs win. This is not a City win. Again, I'm going for the draw. Yet another. There's going to be a lot of draws this weekend, people. This is, though, a 2-2 draw. This is going to be a 4-goal extravaganza. For me... and it could be that Tottenham are 2-1 up in the 90th minute, and then all of a sudden someone decides that Man City have got to get that goal. I'm sorry, this isn't the Champions League. But you never know how this one could go.
Don't be so smug, Mr. Geber.
Yeah, no, well, I was referring, of course, to the Real Madrid shocking last-minute penalty. You're shaking your head no?
No, it's definitely a penalty. The lad got on the wrong side. The interesting thing for me, Nick, when you look at over and unders, and I almost look at it as it's like craps, where you bet the come line or you bet the don't come line, right? So the optimists in us always bet the come, don't we?
Yeah.
The pessimists always the don't come line. So, and that's how it is with the over and
There's a
under.
doctor that will fix that problem, by the way. That can all be taken care of now very easily, Nick.
Yes, snip, snip. And I think as fans, and we are fans of this beautiful game, it's our duty in this particular game, Nick, to bet the over.
I have to bet the over. It's 3.5 goals, right? Yeah, you have to bet the over. This is going to be there's going to be 4 goals here because there's so much at stake. First of all, City are really looking toothless as of late, and they are going to need to. Their strikers are going to want to show that they've got what it takes. They're trying to book their tickets for a regular starting spot for next season. Don't sell me, please. I know we disappointed in Europe. Come on, look, I've still got it. And of course, Harry Kane's looking for that golden boot. He's going to try to knock in as many as he can. And quite frankly, I wonder about the mentality of City defensively. They've always had one of the best spines in English football, and they've been really looking shaky the last week or two.
Well, unfortunately, my namesake, Nicholas Otamendi, has rediscovered his form as one of the worst defenders in the Premiership, not one of the best.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. So, but Nick, you're going for the Spurs win. That's at a plus 174 right now. I'm going for the 2-2 draw. That's at a plus 269. Again, it's your money, people. You put it where you think is right. This is where we're putting ours, and we're putting ours at betanysport.com. They're friendly for US players. Of course, you can put your money in with a credit card. Very easy to sign up. betanysport.com. When you do that, give them the code 5th Street. Tell them you heard it here on 5th Street Sports, and you will get a 50% bonus on your deposit up to $500. So if your deposit's $1,000, they'll let you play with $1,500. You can take the wisdom we're giving you here on this show, and you could turn it into a small fortune or not. But we know if you listen to us, you'll be doing quite well. All right, let's move on to the next match. This is Newcastle-Arsenal. And Nick, could you have imagined last season when we were talking about Arsenal that they would be as dire as they have been this season?
Well, I think that's a little harsh because, as you know, Arsenal are fantastic from August to November. They are absolutely crap and possibly the worst team in the world from November to mid-March. And then as soon as the sun comes out and everything's rosy again, they then become one of the best teams in the world again. Arsenal have won 7 games on the bounce. They are scoring goals for fun. And I can't help but think back to a game in the Premiership that I covered 6-7 years ago when they went to Newcastle and they were 4-0 up by half-time. And in typical Arsenal fashion, managed to bungle it and walked out of St. James's Park with a 4-4 draw. I am going, and I'm very heavy on this one, over. Arsenal are scoring a ton of goals. Newcastle will do the business at home. Not sure who's going to win this game, but I am going over because it's only 2.5 goals. I see at least 3 to 4 goals in this game.
Nick, I don't.
Oh, I mean, what is going on this weekend? Have we not been communicating all week? All of a sudden, we're mortal enemies?
No, it's not even that, Nick. Look, I'm looking at Arsenal's away form, and it's really terrible. They're 12th in the league right now. It's away from home that they've really, really struggled. They're only scoring a goal a game away from home. They're not the prolific goal scorers. I know they've had, that they do tend to wake up as we get into, spring? Winter, summer. Oh, I don't know, whatever that thing is. Winter, spring, thank you. But look, I don't see it. Newcastle, I think they're having a little bit of a resurgence, shall we say? They've also won 3 on the bounce in the Premier League, as have Arsenal. Of course, you're talking about Arsenal's European victories as well. They've done very well in Europe and scored a boatload of goals. But for me, Nick, Newcastle are Arsenal are the favourites at 1 plus 126. But again, Nick, I'm going to take the under, and I'm going to be really, really boring, Nick. Call me boring Nick. I'm going for the draw.
Oh, Mr. Don't Come on the craps table, huh?
Nah, I can't help myself with that one. That's why they threw me out of the casino.
What a pessimist. Oh, dearie me. I don't think I can ever go to Las Vegas with you again.
Oh, yes, you can. Come on, Nick. We can get it done, right?
I will. All right, just one more time.
Oh, look, it's an interesting match. But, Nick, so you're going to go for the Arsenal win. I'm going for the 1-1 draw. Let's take it from there. Let's move on to the next one, Nick, because I have a shocker for everybody today. And let's go.
Don't tell me Brom's going to win.
Let's go to Old Trafford, where Manchester United are playing West Bromwich Albion. The second in the table is playing the absolute dead last in the table. The team that has won 5 in a row is playing a team that hasn't won one since 1823. It's that bad. The stats say, Nick, this game should be 3-0 or better for United. The analysis, if I put on my technician's hat and sharpen my pencil, this is at least a 3-0 game. This should be an absolute walloping. But I like to look at the intangibles in sport, Nick. And here is a team, West Brom, that has been just so god-awful. So absolutely god-awful. They've won one game on the road all season. Sometimes a clock is always right twice a day, Nick. A broken clock hits twice a day. Sometimes you get those shockers of a match, Nick. And I tell you what, I would do this if I were you, Nick Webster. I would not bet any money on Man United because there's no value there. It's minus 500. It's awful, right? However, I wouldn't put much on there. If I'm spreading my bankroll over the games, right? If I'm spreading my bankroll over all these matches, I would take a little bit of gamble in there, Nick. And on that off chance that lightning strikes, I don't know, maybe salmonella strikes in the in the pre-match snack for Manchester United. But at 6 plus 1660, there is going to be a shock or two left in the Premier League season. Could this be it, Nick Webster? Probably not. But for 10, 15, or 20 bucks, you can't go wrong. Take West Brom.
I have no idea what's happening in the basement of your home right now, but maybe the gas has been left on from your last cooking experience because something is in the air. Your brain's gone all a bit skew with. There's a reason why the odds are so heavily stacked against West Bromwich Albion, and that's because they're absolutely crap. United have just come off their biggest win of the season, 2-0 down to their neighbours, with the league title about to be put in their hand, and somehow they find something magnificent. It might not be a high-scoring game. However, I do think United are going to roll them because they have this guy by the name of Romelu Lukaku, who is nothing more than a bully. Okay,
yeah. Against
the big boys, he's like he's got his little shorts and he's got his head down and he's scared to look at anybody. But against the crap teams, Lukaku all of a sudden becomes Superman. If he doesn't score at least a brace this weekend, I will be absolutely stunned. United are going to thump West Brom back into the Stone Age.
All right. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying take a little gamble, take a little tiny bit of your money and put it on those delicious odds because sometimes the Premier League throws up an absolute shocker for you. Could this be it? I hope so. I hate United. You know that. This is a passion play for me. All right. Let's go very quickly. We got time to do the next one? Yes, we do. Okay, let's go to West Ham United against Stoke, and things are not looking too bad for West Ham. Actually, they've not been all that terrible. They had that last loss against I think it was Chelsea, wasn't it? And Stoke. They got the draw. Excuse me, the draw against Chelsea. That's right. And Stoke, just awful, just absolutely terrible. It is time for Stoke to take the long elevator ride down to the Championship. It's about time. And quite frankly, Stoke are coming off a very tough set of fixtures. They played Arsenal, Tottenham, Everton, City. Stoke are plus 255. There's no value in West Ham at minus 110. The draw's plus 217. Nick Webster, I'm going to take a flyer. I'm going to say go Stoke 1-0 for the shocker.
I'm steering so clear of this game. I think West Ham United have turned the corner. The atmosphere at the London Stadium's got a bit more rosy over the last couple of weeks, but they're still a little radioactive. So
Nick, hold on to that thought. It's break. Right. We're going to pick up what your pick right on the other side as we wrap the show up. You're watching and listening to Fifth Street Soccer here on Sports Byline USA, SB Nation Radio. We'll be right back on the other side. Stay with us, please. I chose Stoke as a shocker, 1-0. It's against the grain, certainly. How do you see it?
I see this one as completely radioactive, and I'm going to try and stay as far away as possible. But however, if you did put my toes to the fire, I'm going to go the over. It's only 2.5, and West Ham have been scoring goals at the City of London Stadium in the last couple of weeks. So take the over.
Take the over. All right. No, I wouldn't go. I'm saying 1-0. It's under for me. Nick, we disagreed this week. Next week, we might be singing Kumbaya together. We certainly will be looking forward to some very exciting Champions League action as we get ready for the semi-finals. That's going to be terrific. We're going to talk about that. For all the Champions League action, Premier League action, as we get ready for the World Cup action, let Nick Webster and myself, Nick Geber, bring you our picks and insights right here on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network. And of course,